Hello everyone, welcome to my patch 25.10 mid lane tier list. So not a whole lot of champion changes this patch, but there's a bunch of changes and adjustments to the AP items, and that's driven most of the change in the meta. I have made a video already on the AP items themselves, but if you want the short form of it, there's a few items that are really good. So Rocket Belt is extremely OP, probably the item that benefited the most. Cripploom is also really good, a very solid second item. Bloodletter is better, but still not built super often. Horizon, currently kind of weak, is actually getting buffed next patch. Normally you're not really going Horizon much at the moment because Cripploom second or double mana items, so like tier Blackfire Seraphs tend to be better than going Horizon second. Liandry, I've seen a lot of people like kind of, what's the word, overreacting, I guess. Liandry's still very good on champions that use the dot well. 10 AP, I think, hits the champions that were kind of just building it for the stats a little bit harder or building it because they didn't have a great second item. But a lot of champs that, really abuse Liandry's will still take it. Lichbane is definitely better, but still, I would say like a little niche. There's not that many champions that use it well. Luden's a bit cheaper, but I still feel like Luden's is like it's a little overrated. I definitely don't think the item is that great. The way I would see this is that if you're a champion that used Luden's before, like Zoe or LeBlanc or whatever, you're definitely better now, but I don't really see it being worth swapping over to if you weren't a Luden's user. Malignance buff, kind of nice for the few champions that do it. Miller, pretty much whatever. Nasher, mainly for Azir, I think. Not many other champs that use that, and obviously Deathcap buff benefits everyone. Seraph's nerfed overall, but can still be quite good in double mana builds, so either that's Roa Seraph or like, again, tier Blackfire Seraph. I've even seen some people like in triple mana builds, so going tier tier Blackfire or Ludens, and then Seraph second, and then another mana item after that into Deathcap fourth, so that's an option. And yeah, Storm Surge overall is quite a bit better. Spellbook got changed, but I wouldn't say it's a huge deal. The only champions that really use Spellbook are Zoe is the big one. You can take Spellbook into champions that you'd like to have Cleanse into, so Lyssandra's the big one. But overall, I still think it's not that great. So let's take a look at the actual meta changes, most of which have been driven by all these item changes. So in the S tier, I've still got Ari, champs looking really good, but I have moved up Sylas. Now, Sylas, I think, is one of the main beneficiaries. He really, really likes the Rocket Belt change, and I think it's, absolutely insane on him. Now, I do think that, Sylas is the kind of champion that is just insane in solo queue in general, right? Like, he's got really good gank setup, really good skirmishing, and stuff like that. I will say that you need to be just a little careful picking Sylas. The thing is, like, he's really, really powerful because, like, if you're counterpicking, you're going to see good ultis probably, and also a lot of the blindable mids kind of lose to Sylas. Also, Sylas does have the ability to neutralize some of the bad matchups by going Rod of Ages if you need to. So he's kind of like, I'd say he's a reasonable blind because he's overpowered, but he's still better as a counterpick, right? So again, either seeing key ultimates, a lot of the supports have really good ults for you, or, seeing a matchup that either you can, heavily gank, or, again, has a really good ult like Ari or something. Now, Annie is also really, really good, mainly from the previous patch. It's not in this one, but yeah, the previous patch where they buffed all her base stats and some of her basic abilities. She's really, really good, and she's also very strong this patch with the item changes themselves, so she really likes the extra AP on Malignance. She also has the option of building pen items, right? Like you can build Storm Surge. Alternatively, the Ryze build is very, very solid on Annie. It's really, really annoying to play against. She can also build Bloodletter, which is kind of nice. So yeah, Annie, another just like great solo queue pick. And it's kind of worrying, I guess, that Annie's in S tier because she's not super hard to play. There's definitely a little more skill to her than people think, but I think Annie is super, super good. Great gank setup, can definitely be blinded, works basically all the time, and has a lot of build variation. Taliyah, so I talk about Taliyah pretty much every patch. I think you could probably put Taliyah in S tier. The thing is, though, I think Taliyah is definitely like pretty high elo skewed. Like I feel like to make Taliyah as strong as she should be, you need to be able to blind her. But to blind Taliyah, you've got to be really, really good at Taliyah. So I'd say for most of you, she's probably just an A+, probably better used as a counterpick. Mainly, not even so much into certain comps or into certain champs, but more so that you don't have to verse certain comps and champs. Like a really good Taliyah could neutralize some of these bad assassin matchups or whatever, but it's probably more trouble than it's worth, honestly, if you're in the lower elos. Now, I won't talk about every champ in A tier. Some champs I do want to talk about. So Zoe, Zoe, I think, definitely can use Spellbook. I have seen a lot of people running Spellbook. Spellbook actually used to be the go-to on Zoe a very long time ago. Now, when the Spellbook changes came in, I, initially kind of saw it as like, okay, I don't think anyone will ever use this because the combat power you get out of Electrocute or Airy is just too much for the early game. That being said, Zoe does get combat power out of Spellbook, although it doesn't come pre-6. It's still quite useful for the skirmishes and stuff. So, yeah, I don't know. It's definitely a rune that I've actually got a video from a long time ago on how to use Spellbook. If you guys have no clue, just look up, how to use Spellbook, Shok. It's mainly used in games where, again, you want to take Cleanse and TP, right? So if you're against something like Lissandra, or funnily enough, if you're against something like Zoe, taking Spellbook, I think, and either going Spellbook Cleanse and then swapping to TP at 6, or going Spellbook TP and swapping to Cleanse at 6 can both be really, really valuable. So underrated rune, I think, but definitely not for everyone. Who else do I want to talk about up here? So, okay, I guess Galio. So Galio is still really, really good solo queue champion. I've seen some people going Rockabelle, but it seems like mostly people just play the tank build. The thing is, like, Galio is pretty nice as an answer to a lot of these other AP champions up here. Like, it's okay versus Zoe. It's quite good into the champs that kind of have a hard time killing you, right? Like, I feel like into Orianna, if you're playing the tank build, it's quite nice. So that's still an option. Azir. Oh yeah, so Azir is kind of worth talking about. So Azir, I think a lot of people have asked me, like, what should you build on Azir this patch? Because they did nerf Liandry. So I think you're definitely going Nasher. Well, actually, you don't have to go Nasher, but I think you should. The item got buffed. It's really good on him anyway. Deathcap, I think, is kind of a shoo-in as well. Super, super solid. I think Liandry is still quite good on this champ, but I have seen people experimenting with Ryze, so going going Nasher into Ryze. I've also seen people going Nasher into Zhonya. I've seen people even going Nash into Deathcap. So there's a lot of options, and I don't think you can really go wrong with the Zero itemization. There's just a lot of really good stuff you can build. Bloodletter, funnily enough, is probably quite a good item too, because you get a lot of shred, and you also get health, which can be kind of nice for Azir if you are in a comp where you want to go in. So that's an option as well. But yeah, that champion is super, super good. Is there any other champs I really want to talk about? So, okay, Ryze is an interesting one. So I think, people kind of look at, like, Seraph's overall as a nerf, but I think it is, like, basically net neutral if you're playing Rod of Ages. And I think in Ryze's case, it's actually a buff. So Ryze is looking pretty good at the moment. The only thing that really holds Ryze back is there are some annoying matchups in the meta, right? Like, playing Ryze into, like, an Ori or, a Syndra or something can be pretty rough. But I do like Ryze into Sylas, and I think Ryze can also be a good answer to, well, basically anything that is like reliant on getting pushed early, where you can, match the push and have more impact on the map. So we do kind of like Ryze. What else do we want to mention? Okay, so some champs that are like Luden's reliant, so things like LeBlanc or, Zoe, Aurora. I think these champions are all a little bit better. You can actually run Malignance on Aurora, obviously, so that's an option too, but all these champions are feeling kind of good. Probably the champs that were nerfed the most were champions that were kind of reliant on Seraph Liandry, so you'd think that'd be like a champ like Ori. I'm of the opinion that, well, yeah, Ori's probably like a little weaker, but I think what helps a lot of these champs is the ability to go Crit Bloom second. Like, that feels really, really solid. So, yeah, that's definitely an option as well. Another group of champions I really want to mention would be these ones here. So Akali, Ekko, Diana, maybe even Fizz, like the champions that have access to, things like Rockabelle or Storm Surge or Lichbane. I think overall these champions are definitely better, but their weaknesses still exist. Basically, they're probably not good as blinds, and they're definitely better as counterpicks, but like in those counterpick scenarios, they are stronger than they are before. So I definitely think there is there's merit to looking into these champions, and you could maybe argue they're better as blind picks compared to before, just because like Rockabelle is a nice neutralizer, and if you were kind of reliant on rushing Lichbane, it's much easier to build that now that it doesn't have a rod in it. So you can definitely think about those champions. I don't think there's really anything else I want to mention on the list. I think if we get some more like actual champion changes, I'll definitely talk through them a little more. I guess for the few that they did change, Smolder I think is actually like quite strong at the moment, but it's mainly for bot lane. I think in mid, I've mostly only seen it, people playing it high into Galio, so I don't think that's really changed. Nefiri, yeah, it was just a nerf to the jungle. What else? Do we have anything else from it? I guess we have Cho'Gath. What was the nerfs? 82. Yeah, okay. Little nerfs for Cho'Gath. I don't think it makes a huge difference, honestly. So, Yeah, overall, I actually don't think the meta is that different. I think most of the changes are kind of like net neutral. It just changes the build paths you have to go. I would really recommend checking out my itemization video that I just made before, as that can point you in the right direction about which items to build this patch. Otherwise, just go to Pro Builds or something and take a look. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next one.